Hello and welcome back to the My Two Sat show. Today I'm joined by the brilliant Sabina, co-founder of Tando, and I'm super excited to get her two sats on all things Bitcoin in Africa. Sabina, how you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and to chat, just have a conversation about the
Yeah,
Bitcoin scene in Africa.
I'm very excited to start to bring light to all the amazing things that you're doing over there and the other projects that are developing in Africa and bringing Bitcoin to the people of Africa. This is going to be a huge light being shown on the continent and all the great leaders and innovators over there.
Thank you. Let's do it.
Let's do this. So I guess we should start off with telling everybody a bit about Tando and how Tando is getting people involved with Bitcoin and opening the door and opening the world for Bitcoin payments to Kenyan shillings.
Sure. So, again, my name is Sabina. I am one of the co-founders of Tando. And for those who are not familiar with Tando yet, it's a mobile app that gives anyone in Kenya or anyone who comes to Kenya, it gives them the freedom to spend their Bitcoin anywhere M-Pesa is accepted. So we are basically a bridge between Bitcoin users and merchants who are not accepting Bitcoin yet. We believe that in a few years, everyone will be accepting Bitcoin, but in the meantime, we need that bridge to help people cross there. So yeah, that's basically what we're doing. And for those who again don't know about M-Pesa, it's a version of mobile money, and it's the largest mobile money network in Kenya, and it was also one of the first mobile money networks in Africa, if not the first. I'm sure it was the first. And it's made mobile money like a thing here in Africa. And it allows people to, transfer money, pay for their goods and services, withdraw cash, deposit cash, like even loans. It's a mobile bank, to put it in simpler words. And according to a report by Safaricom, so Safaricom are the ones who launched M-Pesa in 2007. By end of last year, December, that's 4 million of the Kenyan's population, they were using M-Pesa. And I think the population in Kenya right now is around 54 million people. So yeah, that's a huge number. So you can imagine the impact Tando has in driving Bitcoin adoption here in Kenya. And we believe, just as Kenya leapfrogged the world in mobile money, using M-Pesa and the digital cash, we're doing it again with Tando and Bitcoin. So yeah, that's it about Tando. And how it works is you spend your Bitcoin and the merchant receives Kenyan shillings. Like I say, it's a bridge between Bitcoin users and merchants who have not or not yet accepting Bitcoin. So you open the app, no KYC by the way. So you just open the app and go directly, to the screen, to the home screen. And what I didn't mention is there are three primary methods of money transfer in the M-Pesa network. And that is send money, buy goods, and pay bill. And those are the same payment methods we have in Tando, because what we've done in Tando is we kind of wanted to make it look and feel familiar to what most people are used to with mobile money. It made sense to have those three primary features there. So when you open the app, you choose the type of transfer method that you want, be it send money, buy goods, or pay bill, and then you key in the amount of money you want to send in Kenyan shillings. And then what Tando does is it creates an invoice for you, and it shows you the amount of Bitcoin or sats you're going to spend. And then you are going to pay for that Lightning invoice, and Tando lets you open your Bitcoin Lightning wallet of choice. It can be wallet of Satoshi, Blink. So you choose whichever you want. And that's it. We convert your BTC to Kenyan shilling, and we forward the Kenyan shilling to the merchant that you specified. And it's that simple. The whole process is around 15 seconds actually, and I hope we can do that, a live demo, so that people can see how fast it is. And yeah, that's it about Tando. Our mission right now is to accelerate Bitcoin use as a medium of exchange across Africa, starting here in Kenya, because we do believe that Bitcoin is money and it's a better form of money, and it's definitely better than our devaluing currencies here in Africa. Yeah, we're spreading the word.
That is incredible. And we are definitely going to do a live demo here shortly on Tando, just to show everybody how easy it is from someone over here in Mexico to send money to someone in Kenya with the press of a few buttons. And like you said,
Yay.
in real time, like 15, 20 seconds. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. And in my mind, really highlights the beauty and the power of Bitcoin, right? It's permissionless, it's cross-border. And in Latin America, where I am, and in Africa, remittances, sending money back home is extremely expensive when you go by fiat companies, by centralized companies, right? Your Western Unions or your centralized companies. And that's cost prohibitive, whereas we can spin up a Lightning invoice and send it all the way across the world in 15 seconds. I think that is really highlighting just power of what's being built there.
Yeah, that's actually true. We got an email the other day from a guy in Canada. He's Kenyan, he lives in Canada, and he was just expressing his gratitude for this app because he's like, I send money to my sister instantly now, and it's almost free. Like it's literally free, and it's very fast compared to traditional ways where, let's start with, like, you have to state, like, you have to fill all these documents stating you're sending the money that you've worked so hard for, and you still need permission to use it. Like, it does not make sense. And so, yeah, it's a great use case for remittances, and people are loving it. And we are happy to provide this value back to everyone.
I heard you're a big fan of lots of paperwork and documents from one of your other podcasts. You love big lines and standing in the bank all day and all that just to send your money.
No, I've actually had an experience with Western Union back in campus, and my friend too, my roommate, her dad used to live in the US, and that's the only way he would send school fees to her. And it was, oh God, it would take a week for her to get her school fees. And it would inconvenience her, and it's very costly, and it's very frustrating as well. So it's great now we have solutions like, Bitcoin and the Lightning Network, which makes things easy for us, as it should, because life is not meant to be hard, really.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much in what you shared in that opening bit there that I want to dive deeper into. That right off the top is so true. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of hassle to send money, the money that you earned, to somebody that you care about and you want to provide that money to. It shouldn't be that hard. And thanks Satoshi for Bitcoin, because that is now alleviated, right? And I think that's the biggest use case right there. So, eliminating the lines, eliminating the headaches, the control, that is extremely powerful. How is it in Kenya in terms of when you get paid? Are you getting paid from like a corporate job? Are you getting paid every 2 weeks, like what's standard in America and Canada? Or are you paid every month? How does that work?
So from what I know, I've worked in corporate before, it's mostly per month. That's how people get paid. Yeah. And it's mostly through banks, because I remember my first official job, they made me open a bank account because, you have to pay taxes for tax purposes. I never used a bank until I got my first job. I was literally using M-Pesa. By the way, in Kenya, you can just survive with M-Pesa. Like I said, it's a mobile bank because you can save your money there. You can deposit, withdraw, you can pay for your bills, like their loan services. So it's like a bank, but when you're employed in corporate, of course, you need to pay your taxes. So they make you open a bank account. And actually, that's how I opened my bank account. It was through my corporate job. But yeah, we get paid monthly.
Okay. And then when you get that paycheck, do you have to go into the bank and stand in the line for hours to try to get access to your money? In Mexico, for example, I think it's on the 15th so every, 2 weeks there, you see people standing inside the bank, lines around the corner, all the way outside, down the street. They're sitting on the ground.
Wow.
I mean, they have to spend, they're sitting right out there on the ground, eating and talking, and it takes so long. It's so impractical. And you see that, and it's like in the more rural areas, people have to take buses in an hour, 2 hours or whatever to town, to a more major city and then go through that exact process to get their money out. So it's a very disconnected and illogical process. It's very archaic.
Oh,
And so whenever I see that, I think this is what Bitcoin fixes right here. Would eliminate all of that. So what is it like
mhm.
in Kenya?
Wow. First of all, I'm like very shocked to hear that. Like, I didn't know that actually happens. So in Kenya, I don't think I have seen that because banks have integrated with the M-Pesa network. Like I said, M-Pesa is a huge deal here. So like the pay bill feature, that's mostly connected to banks. So they have, with a bank, you get your account number, right? So with now M-Pesa, the way they've integrated it is they can pay, you can cash out when they send money to your bank, you can cash it out from M-Pesa. So you don't need to go to the bank really.
Okay. So everything's
And
pretty much digital then in Kenya
yes, like
already.
literally, yeah, we don't, M-Pesa has solved that for us. So that's why I'm saying like it's plugging into this network and making Bitcoin spendable on this network is a very big deal. And it has a lot of potential or like, yeah, to drive Bitcoin adoption in Kenya.
Beautiful, beautiful. So has
Mhm.
the use of cash, like physical cash, almost been eliminated? It's almost like peer-to-peer digital the whole way.
It's still there, but M-Pesa is still dominate. I would say M-Pesa is dominating. Like from my experience, I don't, I barely touch cash.
Hmm?
And yeah, and now I'm a Bitcoiner, so I don't touch cash and I don't touch their fiat money. But
I love it.
most people use M-Pesa. Like literally, you go down the street, M-Pesa numbers everywhere. Even the vendor who's selling things by the roadside, she has an M-Pesa number. Like you send thing to her M-Pesa. But it's so interesting. In some communities, they still use cash. Like my parents, their job, they're in the recycling industry, like the scrap metal industry. And so they're positioned in like garage, like big garage, because they're buying recycled metals, like the worn out metal so that they can go and be recycled. And you find that in such businesses, cash is still rolling, like people want cash. You go to other markets, like there's somewhere called Isili, and they just sell clothes, like textiles and stuff, and they prefer cash to M-Pesa. But this is because some people don't like the transaction fees in M-Pesa, so they opt out for cash. But it's mostly M-Pesa, I would say.
Okay, okay. Interesting. And earlier when we started this, you said there's 54 million Kenyans approximately. And did you say that only 4 million are using M-Pesa?
No, 34 million. There's that article by
30.
Safaricom they published last year in December, and they say they now have 34 million users.
34. Okay.
Million, yeah. I can send you that article after this. I'm sure I can find it somewhere.
Okay, okay, that's fascinating. I thought, wow, 4 million. That's still a lot of debanked people, but okay, 34. That's
34.
progress.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So, how many people do you imagine or do you know of that accept Bitcoin directly as opposed to
Oh,
wanting to use Tando for converting the Bitcoin to shillings? Is
huh.
that catching on yet?
That's the goal, actually. But now that's where, so one of the Bitcoin datas, who's also an alumna of Bitcoin Data, her name is Rosalind. She runs an initiative called Bit Biashara. And what they do, Bit is like Bitcoin, Biashara means business. So what they do is they're onboarding merchants to accept Bitcoin. So they train business owners to accept Bitcoin. They go to their shop and they have classes right now. So they're running classes on training these merchants the benefits of accepting Bitcoin. And like as a business owner, it's very important to adapt to like new innovations now, like Bitcoin. You don't want to be left behind. So they take all these merchants, they train them, and then they go to their shops. They set up things for them if they are needed. And I think that's very important because we need more people accepting Bitcoin. So the way I look at it is with Tando, we want to get Bitcoin users. Like we want them to make it a norm to spend Bitcoin, just like they do with their fiat money, their day-to-day fiat money. So we want them to get into that habit of spending. Like that's what we're trying to do with Tando. well, Biashara is training these merchants to accept Bitcoin. And I think, and now like in a few years, like the goal is to eliminate the middleman, which is now Tando, and have people, transact peer to peer, which is what Satoshi intended. And I think that way, it's actually not going to be easy for the people in power to come for Bitcoin, like to even tax it, or like you cannot tax the Lightning Network or on chain, because right now they're going after exchanges or on ramps and off ramps. So when we eventually, become peer to peer or like transact peer to peer, yeah, it definitely makes things better and as they were intended to be. To answer your question about how many people accept Bitcoin directly, I honestly don't know the number. I don't want to misquote it, but I'm sure of like 5 businesses, but I'm sure there are more because, BHBHR is doing that. And we also have Felix from the call. He was running a challenge last year onboarding 100 Bs to accept Bitcoin. And I think he did like 15, if I'm not wrong.
Wow.
So that's 15. So I would say like roughly 20 that I know of, 22, 30 here in Nairobi, because I don't know about other parts. But like with circular economies like Bitcoin Chama, which is based in another city far from Nairobi, it's like in the rural area, they're still orange peeling, they're training their merchants in their small village to accept Bitcoin. So I think you can count those as well. And I'm sure other people are doing that in their areas where they live. So yeah, we are getting there, but I'm not sure of the numbers and I don't want to give you the wrong number.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Just to feel for the adoption is more than enough. So yeah, we want to give some love to Bitcoin Shama, who actually just as before we jumped on and recorded this, made a great post on Noster and on X about paying for
Ooh.
their plumbing to get clean water in their rural village, and it
Ooh.
was paid by Bitcoin. So I just absolutely love that. I think that is fantastic. We know that clean drinking water is one of the big struggles of Africa.
It is.
And how brilliant is that, out in the middle of nowhere in the rural areas, that clean water is now flowing freely and paid for with sats. I think
With
that's just
Bitcoin.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what Bitcoin was intended for, to make life better for people. And I'm so happy for them. Like, imagine this is their first time having clean water in their village. And I'm sure they've grown up there like all these years. So you can imagine. And I'm so happy that they finally get to experience that. And they've been great supporters of Tando. Like when we started out, when we first released the MVP, which was last year in June, July, so we were opening it up to, Kenyan Bitcoiners to test it out. And of course, they were among the Bitcoiners who tested it. And we just woke up one day and we watched the video where they were in the farm because it was a farming season. And Kelvin decided to send mom 200 shillings. So he took out his phone, opened the Tando app, and sent mom 200 shillings. And that just made it feel so surreal for us. Like in that moment, it was like, we are definitely doing this because we want to put smiles on people's faces and we want to make it easy for them. Because, like Kevin's mom, she's old. She doesn't know about Bitcoin that much. I mean, they're trying to train her, but at least he can spend his Bitcoin and still transfer, value to mom and make mom's day. So yeah, it's amazing and I love what they're doing. And the story of how the Bitcoin Chama community came to be is one of their friend was in a Chama. So a Chama it's very common here in Africa. It's where people come together, like 10 people, friends, and it's people you trust, and you start like pooling money. So you save money. And maybe at the end of 1 week, you say, we are going to give this money to person A. And then you pool, second week, you give it to person B, like that. Or you decide to save together at the end of the year, you give it to one person. Or you decide to invest by, buying a motorcycle, buying a land as a group or something. But it's just like an investment.
Wow.
Yeah. So Kevin, one of his friends, he was a motor motorbike guy. We call them Boda Boda. That is his job. He works with his motorcycle and transports, people and goods. And he was in a chama, and they were saving money. And at the end of the year, he had saved around 20,000 Kenyan shillings, which is like $200. But then he sat down and he was like, damn, if you had saved in Bitcoin, this would have been more valuable, because they looked at the value of Bitcoin when the year was starting and at the end. And he wanted to use this money to buy iron sheets for his home, because he was building a home. So, they concluded that if he had saved in Bitcoin, he would have gotten more than the iron sheets. He would have been able to buy cement and pay the plumbers and everything. So that's when it hits, like, you know what, we can do something for our community. We can teach them about Bitcoin, and we can start pulling money in Bitcoin instead of, fiat, because it saves your value. I mean, it stores your value better. And that's how Bitcoin Chama was born. So they do that. They have their pooling circle, and that they're now saving in Bitcoin. And also they do education, which is amazing. And they opened a gym for the community, which was also paid for with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin has like helped them. And now they have clean water. So they're building their circular economy slowly by slowly. And it's just so fulfilling, and it's so heartwarming to see it. And I cannot wait to visit them, because I've actually never been down there. It's really far from Nairobi.
Oh, you
But
need to
yeah,
go.
that's how
That's
Bitcoin
incredible.
is changing lives in rural Kenya. That's one
Oh, that
example.
that puts a chill down my spine and like makes my skin pop, because that is, for me, that's so much at the heart of what this is all about. For
Mhm.
people in the first world, it's so exciting that the number goes up, and they can flex their wallet gains and the price and this and that. But for people in Africa, this is about food and a new roof and a
Yeah,
clean drinking water and things to help the youth. And that's
exactly.
just so beautiful and powerful. And I think it's really cool to learn that Africa is sort of like the OGs of peer-to-peer. What a chama
Yeah.
is at the heart of what Bitcoin kind of promotes, right? Like peer-to-peer, and storing your time and energy and bringing it into the future, and then ending up with more of it, like more
Mhm.
wealth, let's say, because you've stored your time and energy in a hard asset, the hardest asset on earth, which is Bitcoin. So
True.
that's extremely powerful. And
It
you were
is.
saying about the elders, maybe not getting it yet. Like they get that, hey, I just received 200 shillings, but they don't get the power of sats yet, which I think is
Mhm.
okay, because the youth is where the inroad is. The youth get it. Like, wow, if I had just, instead of saving these shillings, if I had saved the sats, I would have had 2 times as much. Even just 6 months ago, when the price of Bitcoin was, 50, 60K, and we're at
Mhm.
100K
Right
USD
now.
at time
Yeah.
of recording here. I mean, what that would do for the average person saving in Bitcoin in Africa is nothing short of incredible, right?
Yeah, I agree. And someone said that Africa is the best use case for Bitcoin. And I totally agree. Yeah, because our systems have really failed us. And now we have this alternative system that does not need permission, and it does not discriminate you. You just come as you are. If you're earning 100 shillings per day, which is like $1, $2, that's okay. We don't discriminate you. All you need is your wallet and you're good to go. And yeah, it saves your value, your time and energy. I think that's my favorite part about Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's insanely powerful when we put it in that context. So what is the average cost of living, or like the average spend of a Kenyan every day
Huh, that depends.
or per
Oh,
month?
that depends but I think right now, because the cost of living has really gone up, I would say, I don't know, 500 shillings per day, which is around $4. $4, but it depends. To be honest, some people even live on that $1 in a day, $1 or $2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
For some
That
people,
really
it's really
highlights.
it's really hard, especially when you go to the slums. Life is very hard there. In some parts of the village, not all, because some villages, like, they're very rich in resources, and so they don't struggle that much because they grow their own food, they have their own water, they don't pay rent because they've built their own houses there. But it really ranges. It depends on which part of Kenya or, what type of person and what they do for a living.
Absolutely. Well, that's very eye-opening for sure. And I think a lot of people in Bitcoin might not even be thinking about that reality of life on the other side of the world. And so, what I really want to do is shed light on that in this episode and
Mm-hmm.
just bring it to people's attention. And I think there's a great opportunity for Bitcoiners to look outside of themselves and to look at something greater and
Yeah,
say, what can we do for helping, in this situation, help to build a freedom and sovereignty in Africa, right? By
exactly.
supporting some of these amazing projects out there. And Tando makes it easy to do that. So I
Yeah.
think before we drift too far off into all the other topics, because I think we could talk for days about this, why don't we jump on and
Oh,
send some money through Tando and the Lightning Network over to Africa,
yay. Mexico to Africa.
Mexico to Africa. Let's do it. So while we're doing this live demo, I'm going to get you to just give
To
the instructions.
Okay, so have you opened the app yet?
So
Open the
go to your
Tando
app
app.
store, Google
Oh,
Play
good.
Store or the App Store, and
Oh,
download
yeah.
Tando Ltd.
It's Tando Ltd on both App Store and Play Store. I can send you
Okay.
the links. Yay, that's it. Uh-huh. So now you're gonna choose the option of send money. So yeah, guys, you've seen like there's no KYC or anything. Just takes you straight to the home screen.
I've downloaded the app, opened the app, no KYC. We're straight into it and we can send money right away here. Okay, so I've got your phone number here,
Yes.
pasted
You've
it in here. I'm going to keep that confidential, but we've pasted it in here. And then we're going to just hit next.
mm-hmm.
We're going to put in the amount of Kenyan shillings.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put in, I don't know, 500 Kenyan shillings.
Okay.
And we've got a,
Yeah, create. Now Tando prompted him to create an invoice. So he's gonna create the invoice. Yes. And now he's gonna pay the invoice using his Lightning wallet of choice. So pay.
so it's prompted me to open a wallet that I don't have the funds on. So I just I tapped to copy the QR code, the
Oh,
Lightning.
yeah,
Okay. And
you
so
can
I
do
can
that.
go over to the wallet that I do have something in,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an
send,
option. And now you can go
paste.
back to Tando and you can now go back to Tando, the Tando app, and you're gonna see the payment process because it highlights that.
I don't have enough sats in there for that amount. Let me just let
Oh,
me let me do a new invoice, just a few
yeah,
less
just
here, and
do a
we'll.
few. The minimum is 15 shillings, so you can do that. No, wahala.
I think we can do. I think I have enough for 300 in this wallet. So here we
Cool.
got create the invoice.
We're starting again, guys. Alrighty, pay invoice. Yeah.
So we've copied that. We're gonna send it on Wallet of Satoshi.
Yeah, we
We've
love Wallet of
pasted it in here.
Satoshi.
Here it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
300 shillings,
So,
2,319 sats.
yeah.
We hit send.
Yeah. Now go back to your Tando app.
Okay.
It's already sent, and now like, oh, guess what? I already received it.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if can they see that?
Yeah, they should be able to zoom out a little bit. There we go. So we've got a couple dollars sent over with love from Mexico to Kenya,
Yay!
just like
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, just like that, guys. It's that simple. We love to keep things simple at Tando. And yeah,
Incredible.
shout
That
out
was
to
easy.
it was. And shout out to Wallet of Satoshi. They've also been great supporters of Tando, and we love Wallet of Satoshi. Everyone knows about Wallet of Satoshi here. And they also contributed to, Bitcoin Chama. That's why they were able to get like free the clean water, the tap water. So this is an appreciation message to Wallet of Satoshi. Oh, my network.
I think we lost Sabina.
So,
Oh, there you are.
oh my God.
Lost you for a minute there.
Yeah, my network. I'm sorry. I switched I had to switch. Sorry about that.
No problem, no problem. Awesome. So how much would it cost to, for example, to get the water set up for one house or one village in Kenya like that?
One village is I'm so bad at giving numbers.
No problem.
A village it would cost, yeah, I don't know to be honest.
Do they
Yes.
generally set up like a couple of clean water sources for an entire village, or every home should have one, ideally?
So the idea every home should have one. They create an infrastructure for it, and then you as a home you have to pay the city people, like the chief or something, go there and you tell them like, hey, I want you guys to come and connect the clean water to my home. I
Okay.
think it also depends with the distance from the main water plant that they've set in that village, because there's a main water plant that's set up somewhere in the village. And that's like that the government does that. They set up the water plant in the village, but then it's individuals who go and pay to have water, to have them connected from the plant to their home. But
Okay.
honestly, it depends also. Again, everything depends with the county that you're from. So I might give you a number, but it doesn't apply in their county.
Yeah, no problem. I was just sort of curious, generally speaking, how that setup works, because I think that's clearly one of the big needs and could be one of the big use cases that Bitcoin solves. And, for anybody
Yeah.
listening to this, it could be as little as, I imagine from the Bitcoin Shama post, it didn't look like it was, too much. It looked like it was
Yeah.
3,000 or 4,000 sats. I might be incorrect. So I will definitely do my research and get some more details on that. But for anybody listening, if in your heart you feel called to contribute or to help, we're going to set up some resources after this. And I'm just kind of dropping this on Sabina live in real time, but I'd like to set up some bridges here to get clean water to some of these homes and villages. I think that would be a
Yeah.
great use case and a great example of what
For,
Bitcoiners stand for and what we're all about. And that's peer to peer. That's love, sovereignty, freedom from these control structures that keep people oppressed.
uh-huh.
And so let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can raise some funds. No guarantees that anybody's going to contribute, but I think that knowing Bitcoiners, they'd be happy too. So
Yeah. There's
let's
always
see what we can do.
yeah, there's always people willing to do that. And even for Tando, when we started out, we set up a Gaza campaign because we didn't, have funds to start. We just had a proof of concept and we made a video, we put it out there on Gaza, and the Bitcoiners came through for us. And we are so grateful, because if it wasn't for Gaza in the beginning, I don't think we would have, started the execution process. So Bitcoiners are awesome. And thank you so much for your generosity and for using Bitcoin for what it was intended. It was to heal the world and, spread love and kindness. And so, yeah, if we can, let's help out these project. There's so many other projects here in Africa doing great things.
Yes, and that is a great point. Shout out to Geyser for all the amazing work that they do to connect Bitcoin
Oh
innovation
yeah.
and projects from all around
Oh
the
yeah.
world and provide the support that is so desperately needed. We're building a decentralized autonomous network here, basically, and that's requiring a lot of work, and that requires proof of work from every individual person involved in the Bitcoin network to make these
Mm-hmm.
things happen. We can't go to the government. We're not petitioning the local, governors here in these circumstances. We're doing this because we want to see a certain outcome. We want to see a change in the world. And the only way to do that is proof of work. And Satoshi has provided that through Bitcoin. So I think what better way to actually encapsulate that than spend your sats on supporting these types of projects, which is what Geyser does an amazing job of. So I'm going to give a
Yeah.
lot of love to them. And maybe you just want to name off or send a little bit of love out in the world to some of those other amazing Bitcoin projects that are blossoming in Africa for us.
Oh yeah. So here in Kenya, I'm gonna highlight the ones that are happening here in Kenya that I've interacted with. So to start off, shout out to Bitcoin Data. Bitcoin Data is an amazing platform initiative, and what they do is they empower the African woman through financial education with a focus on Bitcoin. And it was founded by Marcel Lorraine. She's a powerhouse in this Bitcoin African space. And she's done an amazing job, taking us African women and educating us, giving us opportunities. Because, my first Bitcoin job was with Bitcoin Data as their content manager and social media manager. And I got to learn a lot from that role, which I'm now applying as co-founder at Tando. I got to learn a lot about Bitcoin in that role. I can't even explain it because, when you're doing content, you have to go deep and do your research. And it forced me to do that. And I'm forever grateful for that. And Bitcoin Data has also birthed other African women who are doing, great things, like Roslyn from B2B Ashara that I just told you, like she's onboarding, merchants. We have also Sharon. Sharon works for B-Trust Developers. So B-Trust Developers is an educational initiative that focuses on Bitcoin devs, like literally Bitcoin developers. They educate Bitcoin developers, and there've been a lot of talent coming out of B-Trust. We have people contributing to Bitcoin Call. Shout out to Naoma. She's an African woman who contributes to the Bitcoin Call, and she's really badass. We have Vlad, Colin. All these are amazing Bitcoin developers coming out of B-Trust. We have Veronica. So Veronica she's also she's a Bitcoin Data alumna, and she is the on-ground manager for another Bitcoin project here called Bitcoin Babies, which is, oh my God, I love this project so much because it's moms in Bitcoin. And they take these moms and they teach them about Bitcoin, of course, to start with, but they also have weekly contributions, which is very interesting. So they have a geyser where Bitcoiners contribute money, and then they disperse this money to the moms. Like they have weekly contributions. I don't know, I'm not sure of the number of sats they give out weekly. So they take like 10 moms in each cohort and they give these sats to them. And then these moms, what they do is, like we had one who saved her sats and then she enrolled in a driving school. So she learned how to drive, got her license, and she's now a driver. We have another one who has a salon where she makes hair, and she invested her sats to buy like more, what are they called? Machines, for lack of a better word, for like making hair, like blow dries and everything. So they give these stats and then to these women, and then these women like inject these stats into their businesses. And also they're creating a Bitcoin circular economy in their area. I have been there too. It's called Triru. It's like a rural area where these moms live, and they have a salon that accepts Bitcoin. They have shops that accept Bitcoin. And they have a hospital which accepts Bitcoin. And trust me,
No
that's a big
way.
deal because they're moms and they have to take kids for checkups all the time. And trust me, I've been here, and the doctor, she's a woman and she perfectly understands Bitcoin. She's happy to accept it. And their fruit vendors accept Bitcoin. So it's like it is a circular economy that is growing. And it's just so heartwarming to see these moms get empowered, through Bitcoin, because, they're saving something for their kids. When you see them holding their kids, and it just makes you happy to know that the future of these kids it's being laid out, and it looks very hopeful because of Bitcoin, and it's just so heartwarming. So yeah, that's Bitcoin Baby. I've mentioned Bitcoin Data, our Bitcoin Babies. I can go on and on. Should I?
Well, let's dive a little deeper into those ones, and then we can definitely talk or link those other communities. I'm sure you've got quite a list. I would like to get a link for all of them so that we can just get them on the board, get them noticed. And actually just saw Bitcoin Babies on Noster and didn't know what it was when they interacted with one of my notes. So it's cool to learn a little bit more about them. And I think that is incredible. I mean, that is a great use case right there, because I imagine the birth rates are high and the outlook is probably pretty bleak for people that are not saving in sats. Like if your currency is constantly being debased and devalued, inflation and cost of living, even there, is still skyrocketing year over year. Your salary's not keeping up. I mean, you're pretty much out of luck. Nobody's coming to save you. And if they are, you're going to be dependent on centralized powers. And so just to have the freedom and the ability to transact in sats at your local market, at the hospital even, which I think is absolutely amazing.
It is.
That is, in my mind, sort of the whole spirit of all of this of Bitcoin. And so I think tell us a little bit more about the day-to-day life of a woman or of a growing family in Africa or in Kenya before Bitcoin, and then let's transition into what it looks
It's
like with Bitcoin.
okay. So before Bitcoin, moms are always the heart of the home. They take care of everyone. They do everything. So wake up. And these kids, whether they're Bitcoin babies, they're like small kids. It's 1 year, 1 to 2 years. They only take moms who have kids 1 to 2 years, not older than that.
Okay.
And so, you still find that women, even after they give birth, they're still expected to work. Like that does not stop. You give up today, you give birth today, and after 2 weeks, you have to go back to work. You have to provide for your kid because if you don't, no one is coming to save you. And some of these moms, they're single moms, by the way. And even if others have partners, honestly, not so supportive. So you still have to look out for yourself. No one is coming to save you. So you can imagine this young mom with a young toddler and they still have to work. They do like odd jobs, like cleaning homes for people, washing clothes for people. And I don't think it should be like that, to be honest. And then they have to go and cook lunch for the family. And then they have to spend time with the baby. When the baby cries, you have to change the diapers. You have to do this and this and that. And it's very, how do I put it? I don't think it should be like that. Let me give you the backstory of Bitcoin Babies because this is what I'm using as my example. So the founder of Bitcoin Babies, she is Kenyan, but she lives in the Netherlands. So when she got pregnant, she went there because I think her partner is from there, and she gave birth in the Netherlands, and the process was so smooth. And then as a new mom there, like you don't even work, like they do everything for you. Like you have time to rest and take care of the baby. And that is not the picture here in Kenya. So she was like, wow, I would love my Kenyan moms to also experience this, right? And so, because she gets the reality here, like you give birth and yeah, you have to work every day because you need to provide for your kids. Now, when you work and you get, let's say your 500 Kenyan shillings, that won't take you like for a long period of time, like a week or 2 weeks. Like you get your 500 shillings and you use it today because you have to buy diapers. You have to get maybe vaccines for the kids because, small babies, they have to be vaccinated. You're still paying for that. You have to buy food. You also have to like pay rent and everything, transport. So that 500 is not enough. So again, tomorrow you still have to go and work. And it's this never ending cycle. It's like you're on a treadmill and you have to keep, and the money is here. So you have to keep running to chase it. Like it doesn't end. But now here comes Bitcoin, like enter Bitcoin. It saved the value of your money, the time and energy that you put into your craft. So at least when you save your money in Bitcoin, especially like in this period, you can wake up and you find that your value has doubled, it has gone up, and at least you get time off for a day or two and you save your energy, and at least now you have free time to spend with your baby, with your kid. You have time to rest, you have time to, unplug. And so it just makes life easier and better, and it gives you freedom. And so, yeah, I would say that's how it changes, like the freedom. It gives you more freedom now on a Bitcoin standard compared to a fiat standard. You have more time to spend with your kids, with your family. You have time to pour into yourself and just do the things that humans are supposed to do, not just keeping up with this treadmill that we are not supposed to, we are slaves to. So, yeah, I hope I answered your question.
1,000%. It's beautifully put and well illustrated because it's dehumanizing to live in a fiat world. It really is, right? As you just kind of pointed out, there's not enough time to even take a breath, let alone spend time nourishing that kid and helping grow their mind and teaching them about life and setting them up for a better future is not something I imagine most people in Africa have much hope for until Bitcoin
Yeah,
kind of came along.
It's
and
true,
showed the
true.
power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very
Yeah, well, that's
accurate.
I'm glad we're accurate about it here because I really want to paint I want to paint a clear picture in this conversation about a reality that most Bitcoiners and most humans have no idea about. And
Mhm.
I think the similarity that we do have is that, you know, maybe in Europe, a lot of people are spoon fed in the sense of like they get a lot of time off and they don't have to go back to work and they can,
Mhm.
great. That means that they can be mothers, right? But
Mhm.
in a lot of places in the world, it's right back to work on the treadmill because you need two parents in a home and you need two parents working full time. And what you see happening is that kid gets tossed off to daycares or to a
Yeah.
babysitter, and they don't even have a connection or a relationship with their parents until much later on, because parents are thinking, well, we'll just suffer now, we'll work 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 and we'll get ahead, and one day we'll be able to take that family vacation, we'll be able to make up for time that we're losing now because we sacrificed now and we made money. But that's not the case because, as you know, cost of living just keeps increasing and your
Yeah.
wages don't keep
So
up with it. So that's the same in Africa as it is all over the world at this point. And so I think it's a global problem that we're solving with Bitcoin.
it truly is. And I think people are starting to see it because, like even my mom, she complains, oh my God, the cost of living is going up and up every day. And I tell them it's the money. It's all tied down to the money because 1,000 Kenyan shilling, which is about 10 US dollars, it would get you so many things like 10 years ago. Like you'd go to the supermarket and get a big trolley and you would fill it up and 1,000 shillings could get you things equivalent to that one trolley. But right now you go to the supermarket and 1,000 shilling just gets you like 3 items and that's it.
Wow.
And I'm
And how do
happy
you
people,
fix that, right? The average
yeah, how do
person
you,
just looks at that and they're suffering, but there's no thought in their head of this is going to get better. How is this ever going to reverse? It's not.
yeah. And I think but people are waking up to it right now, especially in Kenya. There's been a lot happening on ground and it has made people open their eyes and see like the truth. People are starting to question, which is a good start. Because when people start questioning, they start, getting curious and they'll start going down rabbit holes and maybe, they're going to start looking for alternatives. And that's a thing about Africans or Kenyans. Like people know how to look for alternatives. Like the system forces you to have alternatives. Go look for alternatives. Like there's this saying that necessity is the mother of innovation, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So they get a problem and they're gonna start thinking of 1,000 ways to solve it. Even if the government doesn't come and solve it for them, they're gonna find a way, trust me. And then word of mouth here spreads like wildfire. So when like right now with Bitcoin, someone will use Bitcoin and then they'll tell their friend, and then the other friend will go and tell their friend. So for me, I personally believe it's just a matter of time. The system already is oppressing people here. Like really, it's really bad on the ground. And, even with Tando, we get a lot of emails and DMs on Twitter. Hey, like, how can you help me? I want Bitcoin. Like on TikTok, we get so many comments from young people like, hi, how can I register on Bitcoin? Like, I want to participate. Like, where can I buy Bitcoin? How can I use this app? Like they want to learn. There's that need because they're looking for alternatives. And so it's just a matter of time. And that's why I think tools like Tando are very important because we are showing people that there's another way you can do this. There's another system you can opt out of this system and get into this better system that respects your fundamental human rights actually. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's incredible. And we were talking a bit before the show about my belief, my idea that Africa is blossoming and like it's just full of human potential. but
Uh-huh.
it's extremely oppressed and it's dangerous for free thinkers, and it's not really conducive to individual freedom and sovereignty. And, you kind of confirmed that I was onto something there. And I'd just like to dive deeper into that for everyone to understand. We don't have to go into, names or anything specific, but just the overall feeling on the ground there is that you're not really free to get ahead. You're not free to build the life that you want, right? Because the control structures in place by centralized governments, they don't really set you up to do that.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, they want to keep you in their box because, you know, that's how they make money. So they don't want you out
Yeah.
of the box. And once you try to get out of the box, it's not, yeah.
Yeah.
So the reality on ground, especially in Kenya, because personally I'm a Kenyan, there's a lot of tension. I don't know if you saw last year, but people are protesting against the finance bill because of the tax. Like they didn't make sense, and people decided enough is enough. We are going to the streets and we need to protest because it's our money, we've worked hard for, but they take your money, but they don't give you anything in return. You don't see anything.
Yeah.
They don't add any benefit to your life, but you're still giving them money. So why is that? Like, that's the question people are
Why do you
basically
need them
trying to
then?
ask.
Yeah.
And that did not go well. Like, we had so many lives lost, and, may their souls rest in peace. And I actually participated in the protest. It was very crazy. We were tear gassed. They were running after us like, yo, I don't even know.
Is that the
And
army?
is it the army that they're called? It's the Kenyan Police Service.
Okay.
Yeah, just the police. But it was very tense. There were a lot of, chaos in the country. Yeah, and it's the young people. And that's I love, and I'm a proud Gen Z because they've decided enough is enough, and they're taking power back into their hands, and they're not relenting. They're still pushing. Even right now, as we are speaking, there's still protests, not like on ground, but like online activists. And it's working. It's actually working. People are starting to notice, like other powers from other nations, they're starting to notice, and they're coming in between. And I think it's a great step to, taking back our freedom. And me and some other few Bitcoiners, like there's one called Felix. When we went to the protest, we had Bitcoin banners. Like,
Wow.
it's time for Bitcoin, like opt out with Bitcoin. Like we're trying to spread this message and tell young people that, all we can do if like another way to protest is to opt out of their fiat system, stop using their money and just, start using Bitcoin. And I feel like that way we would have really won against them by a very large margin. But yeah, the situation on the ground is tense. But the good thing is, we are starting to notice people are waking up and people are questioning. People are no longer being controlled, and it's getting to a point where they'll have to just bow down to people. And I believe like right now is when we are getting our power back, and it's the perfect time for Bitcoin in Africa. And us as Bitcoiners here on the ground, we're doing all we can to, spread this awareness and get more people on this network so that we can win this battle for once and for all, and we can get to live, our happily ever after Bitcoin lives. So yeah.
That's incredible. That's a great story from the ground. And I get chills because that is the human spirit, right? That is what Bitcoin is all about. It's saying no more, no more oppression, no more control. We just want our money to go to supporting our life, our freedom of choice. And yeah, I think it's very, very sad and very heartbreaking that it has to go that far. But
I
it's a
know.
reality all over the world, and especially in Africa. And I was sharing with you again before the show that I think once that starts to crumble and break down, that the amount of creativity and beauty and power that's about to be unleashed on the world from Africans, from the African continent, is immeasurable. And I think that is why it's been oppressed and controlled for so long, is that
Yeah,
they are afraid of that. The world, not just Africa, but the world, I think, is
true.
afraid of
Uh-huh.
what, I mean, we know that the resources in the ground there have been pillaged and exploited for 100 years.
Decades, yeah.
And Bitcoin's going to allow you, I know you have a lot of Bitcoin mining operations there with, I believe,
Oh, we
gridless.
do, yeah.
So the power is shifting to the hands of the plebs, to the hands of the everyday person. And I think that's beautiful. And it's very sad that the government will crush you or kill you or, put your life in danger just for showing up on the street and saying, we demand better for our money. But I have a lot of love and respect for your people for having enough fighting spirit to go
Mm-hmm.
out into the street and to say enough is enough. Because in a lot of America and Canada and a lot of these first world countries, they don't have that spirit anymore. They just do as they're told. They're afraid to go out and speak up and say, hey, we demand better. We are giving you all of this money and we are getting nothing in return. And I'm glad that that is something Kenyans are not standing for anymore.
Yeah, it's a great time to be alive, honestly. And I think it's happening. We are taking back our freedom. And it's going to be interesting to see how Africa will turn out in the next 10 years, with Bitcoin adoption actually accelerating every day. Like right now, we have, I think, around 200 and something, 200 plus Bitcoin projects in Africa.
Wow.
So that is very promising, the future of Bitcoin adoption. And it just felt like last year people were setting up the foundation. And this year we will see so many projects take off. And then the best thing again about Bitcoin is it's permissionless. So they can try to take it down, but I don't think it's ever gonna happen. The other day I told my friend there was one day I was walking down my street to the house, and on the roadside there are cabros. Do you know the cabros that they put on the roadside?
It's that.
It's like they construct like pavements. It's just ground, it has grass, and then they slash all that, and then they start cementing it, and they just put a nice sidewalk, like a cemented sidewalk with, you know, the stones and everything. But then, so it was new. But then, like after 6 months, I started noticing the grass was growing back, even after them cementing and putting all these things there. And it grew, like a lot of grass grew, and then the people responsible for that, they came and slashed it. But still, again, it grew, and now it keeps doing that, and they have to come and slash it again and again. And I feel like that's the same thing with Bitcoin. Like they can try to, slash it, but it will still rise. It will never die. And this is for once we have an opportunity to, take power back. Like I keep saying, and this time it's unstoppable. There's nothing that they can do.
Yeah, that is so powerful. I love that. That's a very great analogy with the cutting down the weeds, cutting down the grass, but it just keeps growing. And
Yeah.
that really is the power of borderless, permissionless freedom money. And yeah, I think that should paint a good picture. And that's not just the case in Africa, that's worldwide, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's worldwide.
not just
Yeah.
Kenya. Yeah, so do you have any pro Bitcoin politicians or people in local government? Do you have anybody that's starting to show the support for it, or it's strictly just the people right now, like peer to
That's
peer?
interesting because right now we have this bill. It's called the Virtual Asset Service Provider Bill. And the Treasury, they posted on Twitter that they want the public input into it. So they drafted this bill and then posted it to the public for them to share their views. And that's there's been a discussion the past 3 days on Twitter Spaces by the Blockchain Association of Kenya and people in the Bitcoin space, people in the other cryptos participants. So they are all there and they're trying to analyze this bill. But the bill is very, I don't know,
It's
it
not in
gives
good
too much.
taste.
Yeah, it gives too much power to the central authority. I haven't read all of it, but from what I've read and what I've had other people say, it's that it does not make sense because it's still giving power to the central authorities. And the whole point of Bitcoin is like decentralization. So do we really need regulations? But
Right.
at least they're starting. And also the IMF has influence over that bill because all of a sudden they started pushing the Kenyan government to pass regulation so that they can help grow crypto businesses, but we all know what they want. It's a very weird situation and it doesn't sit right with me and also other Bitcoiners who I've interacted with. And because it's favoring the central authorities more than people, it doesn't even care about the customers or businesses. It's actually just killing these startups like Tando, Bitcoin startups and other crypto startups. So I don't know. They know that I'm sure they now know of Bitcoin and they've heard of it. But for them, they're looking at it as a chance to tax and get more money. So that's
that
where
just
they're at.
highlights the difference between your concerns and your beliefs and the use cases for being a Bitcoiner versus a shitcoiner, right? And they're going to use, you can count on it that they're not going to be trying to introduce bills and legislation to help provide more freedom for people, right? They're going to try to do it to take more control of people through things like CBDCs. Do you have, and obviously anything to do with the IMF, and we know that the IMF is one of the primary reasons Africa is oppressed, and the story there is heartbreaking. And yeah, that's something maybe we can get into another time on a second round here. But it's a long history, and it's a very sad and heartbreaking history.
It is.
And I
Sorry
believe
to
the IMF
interrupt.
is
That's actually what
yes.
fueled the protest last year because the finance bill was being pushed by the IMF. And
There you go.
I'm telling you, people are now awake and they can see these things. And so they decided to, take it to the streets. But yeah, I
Well,
agree
good
with
for them
you.
for having
The
that spirit.
IMF.
Yes, the IMF is the problem. From the research that I've done, they make deals to devalue the native currency and in exchange for loans and support, which that support never reaches the actual individual people in the country that need it most. It goes to benefit the people in power already, which just causes a further cascade of problems downstream for the everyday Kenyan or African.
Yeah, and honestly, Africa doesn't need, I was reading somewhere and someone said Africa doesn't need help, to be honest. We have everything we need and we can make it work for us. But the problem is the people in, these positions, the decision-making positions, they're hungry, they're power hungry, they're money hungry. So they don't think of the citizens. As long as their stomachs are full, that's it. They do not care. But I do believe that Africa has so many resources and we can work together and get to a point where we don't need help from external forces. We can do it ourselves.
Yes, that's beautiful. That's what I'm hoping happens, and hoping that some of this conversation helps bring that to people's attention. And yeah, just lights the spark of human flourishing and freedom, and that people stand up and say enough is enough. So do you have a lot of CBDC talk there? Is that something that people are forced to use or are going to be forced to use? Are they looking at introducing a CBDC? Because I know that in Africa in general, that is, stable coins, and then CBDCs is a very popular thing from the government.
So in Kenya, I haven't had a lot of CBDCs talk. I know they wanted to introduce it. I don't know if it was 2 years ago, but I saw I was reading that they wanted to introduce it. But honestly, I don't know how that would work in Kenya because, like I said, M-Pesa, everyone uses M-Pesa. It's already digital cash. So I don't see how CBDCs will come in place. Maybe bank-to-bank transfers, but they haven't talked, the treasury or the people in those positions, they don't talk about CBDCs a lot and they've never attempted to make one, not that I'm aware of. So it's just our digital cash, which is M-Pesa for now.
Could M-Pesa theoretically be the door for that to happen if they made a CBDC shilling with a mobile payment network like that?
Honestly, I would not be surprised if they did that. Yeah, it's possible, very possible.
Because they've already got a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, if they already have 34 million users sitting there on M-Pesa, I mean, that sounds to me like the perfect trap, so to speak, to
And
start
mhm.
controlling. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's why something like Tando is so liberating, because if that were to happen, this is obviously just hypothetical and speculation, but you can see the possibility there in my mind. To have something like Tando or just peer-to-peer Bitcoin would be an
yeah.
absolute lifesaver at that point.
Mhm. We hope it doesn't happen, and we hope, God forbid, by the time it happens, people would have already learned about peer-to-peer so that we don't need it. And yeah.
How do people get their first bit of sats there? Are you using a centralized exchange to first on-ramp into Bitcoin?
So how do people, that's a good question. I think, yeah, so the mostly used on ramp, so the mostly used exchange is Binance. So you have some people using that. And like I said, many young people in Kenya, they're very well versed into cryptocurrencies, like other shitcoins and Bitcoin as well, because they're mostly traders. Like Forex trading is a thing here. So that's how most people start out. And all these schemes, they invest in these Forex trading things and they get scammed. And they're like, and then they see it as a way of getting rich quickly, because you also have some social media personalities who live very flashy lives, and now you see all they use, they want that, and they come in the name of forex trading, or invest in our coin, and you're gonna have this life, and that makes them to go deeper into the shit coins casino, and they're trading all these shit coins and everything. And so that's why Binance is a big exchange here, because that's where they do all that. So that's one way people get Bitcoin. Another way is BitNob. So BitNob is a non-ramp and off-ramp. I think you can call it an exchange. It's Nigerian, but it operates in Kenya, and it's connected to the M-Pesa network as well. So you can buy Bitcoin using BitNob by connecting to your M-Pesa, and you can also on-ramp to your M-Pesa, actually, your phone number. But all they do is send money, and they have so many other services. And I think that's the most commonly used because it's very simple, especially for newbies, because with Binance, it's crazy.
A
And then
lot.
the
It can be a
thing with,
lot.
yeah, it's a lot to handle, especially for a newbie. And the thing with BitNob is, I think they do Bitcoin only and USDT, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so that makes it easy for people to buy Bitcoin. And then again, it's plugged to the M-Pesa network, and that's what most people are familiar with. So that's how people get their sats. Others, it's through their friends, like someone sends you your first sats. But yeah, that's all I can think of. But mostly
Sure. Yeah,
BitNob. I
no,
would
that's
say
great.
BitNob because it's very simple and already integrated with M-Pesa.
So if you wanted to send money from Kenya to Nigeria or another African country,
Mm-hmm.
how would you would use M-Pesa there as well? And what are the fees or what are the processes like? Because you said that even just within Kenya, the fees on M-Pesa can be prohibitive. I imagine going cross-border
Yeah.
is even more problematic.
Yeah, it's definitely expensive sending money through M-Pesa to another country. So M-Pesa operates in 8 other African countries. I think 8 or 9, if I'm not wrong. So there's Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, I think Ghana as well. But those are the ones that I know of. And you can send money from your M-Pesa network in Kenya to M-Pesa network in Uganda, but it will cost a lot of money. Most people actually don't do that. I don't think they do. If it's in sending money from Kenya to, let's say, Nigeria, I think people use bank transfers, and those who know about Bitcoin, they're just gonna do a peer-to-peer transaction, right? But like right now with Tando, like I said, one of our use cases is, so a person in Nigeria can send money to a person in Kenya. A person in Uganda can send money to Kenya through Tando. So anyone in the world can send money to Kenya through Tando right now. But yeah.
I love it. That's amazing. Yeah. It's not fair and right to have these kind of middleman fees
Mm-hmm.
that you have on, bank transfers and centralized transfers like M-Pesa and things. I mean, the currency is already decimated, and then you're going to take a huge percentage out of that, and then
Yeah.
you're going to
It
convert
was
it to the
sleeping.
local currency to be get. Yeah, so it's very troublesome. I mean, every extra dollar that gets taken is hugely impactful on the person receiving the money because
Mm-hmm.
we know that the money is broken to begin with. If you can send Bitcoin and it retains its value, because one sat is one sat, one Bitcoin is
Yeah.
one Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go to convert to your local currency if you need to, that is infinitely more powerful than sending and doing currency conversions and paying a middleman.
Yeah, and it just saves you, a lot of time, frustration, and yeah, it just does not make sense. You're working so hard for your money, and then someone's just steals it from you. Like they do nothing, they just get it for free. Like that is not okay.
Yeah.
She's like that still
It doesn't make a
baffles
lot of
me.
sense when you. Yeah, me too. It does not. When you think through it, you're like, this makes no sense. Why is the middleman getting, 10, 20, 30% cuts for doing nothing? For processing, but they make you process through them to even send money in the first place. So
Mhm.
it's like you don't have a choice until Bitcoin came along. So I think it just really further highlights the power. So you touched
Yeah.
on a bit about Bitcoin data as well, which I just want to circle back to.
Mm-hmm.
As I understand it, that's a woman's group as well. What is the
Mm-hmm.
general education around finances for about economics and finances for young people and for women in places like Kenya?
So to start with, like women, fun fact is African women, they run most of the economies here because the mom is the one who buys the groceries. She pays rent, she pays the school fees. When you go to ask dad about school fees, he does not know. He does not know how much flour costs because, the wife is there. She's got to do that. Dad just goes to hang out with his friends and do his thing. So you find that women are the one who are running these small economies. You also find like women have run most of the small businesses, at least here in Kenya. That I know for a fact, and there are numbers. And there was also a recent report that stated that there are more women earning over 100,000 Kenyan shillings, which is about, how many is it? I don't know how many dollars. Is it $1,000? Maybe like $900. So yeah, there are more women earning that compared to men because women are very driven. Like I said, the woman is the heart of the home. She has to figure out everything. So they're very smart. They are very proactive. They see a business opportunity, they run with it. Even with the charmers, they where they pull funds, it's mostly women who do that, and it's women who started that. And even in Bitcoin data, we have our channel where we save in Bitcoin as well, actually. So you feel that women, they're way ahead of the men when it comes to matters like money and economics. And they're always like willing to learn because they want better for their kids. And when you empower a woman, you empower the whole community. So yeah, the woman is more educated. She's well versed with this, money and economics, and they want to know more and learn more. So yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I think that that's different from what most people kind of grow up with over here, where,
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking, the women don't know as much about finances because they're not maybe forced to have to take that on, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's quite different in that regard. So I think that's very interesting. So it's, the inroad is with the youth and with the women, teaching them, about Bitcoin. Generally speaking, like when a kid goes to school, is there any sort of education around finances and economics, or this is something that they learn at home?
No. No.
Nothing.
The system right now, the education system in Kenya, this is something they learn maybe in high school, and how we learn it's very vague. They don't teach you because that's how the system is designed, right? They're not gonna teach you how to make money. They're not gonna teach you about like real business
How to get
business.
free.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to keep you in that box that we talked about. So I don't think financial education is that impactful. Honestly, like for me, I've gone through the education system. I've graduated. I have a degree in supply chain management, but honestly, the 1 and almost 2 years I've been in the Bitcoin space, I've learned more than I did in my last year of campus. And
Of
now it's
course.
starting, and it made me question the education system. And I'm like, I don't think I want my kids, when I have kids, I don't want them to go through this. I think I'm gonna homeschool my kids because you get to learn a lot when you self-educate yourself. And now with a tool like Bitcoin, it just makes you see the slavery that has been going on for years and years. And actually the education system now, it's getting worse and worse. And there's nothing there. It's just they waste people's time. Like, because for me, I actually felt like they wasted my time in my last 4 years in campus. Honestly, I wish I discovered Bitcoin back then and put all my energy and my time there.
Yes, I feel the exact same way. I sure wish that I had not taken out student loans to go to earn useless degrees and
Mhm.
learn very little. And I could have just put that money to work for me in Bitcoin, and how much I would be ahead, not just financially, but, in terms of intelligence, opportunity. I mean, what you find, as Jeff Booth often talks about, who is like my Bitcoin hero, Jeff always talks about putting your energy where you want to see change, and like how you can affect change. So pulling your energy and your time away from those centralized jobs and systems and dedicating it to Bitcoin related things, right? Like
Mhm.
education. And it's just amazing when you do that, which is what I've started to do by creating this podcast, is just put my time and energy into Bitcoin. And this is how I can contribute, one of the ways that I can contribute value. And when you do that, the amount of opportunity that opens up, the people that you get to talk to and hear their stories and share them, and it's unbelievable. It's like nothing I've ever seen or experienced from the centralized world.
I know.
You go to university, or you go to these jobs, and you're in debt, you're stressed out, you hate
Mhm.
everything, everything's just, it feels hopeless and helpless.
So
And then you
depressing. Mhm.
very depressing, right? And that's
Yeah.
same for your experience in Africa as it was for me in Canada. And you see that the effects of that all through society as people age and go through the world. It's like they're still struggling. They don't like their lives. But when you talk to
Mhm.
a Bitcoiner, they love their life. Bitcoiners
Right.
love their life because
And
they
they're
get
very
to be,
enthusiastic about the future.
yes, that's the biggest difference that I've found, and that I think is growing from Bitcoin circular economies, is that
Mhm.
people are optimistic for the first time in their life, and maybe their entire bloodline. Maybe generations have
Yeah.
not felt this way until
Mhm.
them. And so I think putting your time and energy in Bitcoin, providing opportunity, providing education, creating applications and tech, just, getting together with like-minded people in Bitcoin, it provides a look into a future that you would want to be a part of instead of run away from.
Mhm. Like I feel the same, with Tando and Bitcoin data. It's like you get a meaning to life. Like you have your ikigai now, and you just want to keep, providing this value, which is impacting the world in a positive way. Because what Bitcoiners and Bitcoin is doing, it's healing the world. Like that's how I feel. For me, it's like in a movie where there's a villain and a superhero, and the villain destroys the city. It's dark and there are fires everywhere. And then the superhero comes and he defeats the villain and saves the city. And now it's the buildings are back to being normal, and it's like lively. People are going to the park, enjoying the day. That's how I feel about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the superhero in this story, in this movie right now. And I'm so proud to be part of it and, contribute my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, this really was everything that I hoped it would be and more. I'm so thankful that you were able to take the time and share your great energy and your experiences on the ground there in Kenya and give us your 2 sats. And I hope that your 2 sats have helped to illuminate what's happening around the world, that, change is possible
Yeah.
if you're willing to put in the proof of work
Mm-hmm.
and tell the person next to you and bring them into this amazing world of Bitcoin. I think the future is very, very bright. So
It
thank
is.
you for sharing, your stories and telling us and teaching us about what's happening over there in Africa. Is there anything that we missed that you want to make sure that we tell people?
Not really. It's like, let's keep pushing, Satoshi's mission forward in whatever way you can contribute. Like there's no small or big way, like however you can contribute, please let's do it because we want to get this in as many hands as we can, like in the world, because Bitcoin is love and we want to spread the love. And when we spread the love, the world heals. And I think that's all we want to see. Like personally for me, I live by the mantra, I want to live my life and I just don't want to exist. Because I feel like most people are just existing, going back to the
Yes.
fiat treadmill, because you have to keep up with that. You have to, because if you don't, you'll sleep hungry. You won't pay for your rent. You won't pay for your kids' school fees. You won't be able to do anything. And it has been designed to keep you that way. But we now have this tool that is coming to save us from this. And like, God bless Satoshi, whatever he is. Like, if I ever meet him, I'm giving him the biggest hug because he has really saved humanity with this tool. So, and this tool is going to help us to, have time to now live life and experience all this, the beautiful creation that is art. You can have time to go to the park and enjoy with your family, travel, have the freedom to just lie down and do nothing, that is okay. And I want more people to live and not just exist. So let's do what we can to get Bitcoin into as many people as we can, into many communities, into many countries. Whatever you can do, please just play your part. I think that's what I would say. I think we would chat more and more. Like, I feel like I should come back for part 2 and we can continue our conversation. But
Please do.
for now.
Yes. Yeah, I would love to have you on again. Well said. That is extremely powerful. Freedom, sovereignty, abundance for all of humanity, for every pleb, for every sat stacker. We see the effects of the fiat treadmill. We can't take a breath. We can't lay down and do nothing.
Yeah.
We're not even free to experience nature and the world around us because we have to go back and work. And there's, just so much stress, and what that puts into the home and the family is broken families apart, and it's broken civilizations apart. And I think, as you said, thank God for Satoshi for introducing the one tool, the only tool that we've seen so far in human history that could unlock that for us, that gives us the opportunity to just enjoy the beautiful world that's surrounding us and to really appreciate the very limited time that we have here on Earth. Maybe there is an afterlife, but we don't know for sure. And I always try to keep that front of mind, is that, our time here is extremely, extremely limited. And could all be over tomorrow, for some random reason. And there is no guarantee you're going to make it to 80 and 90 to see a better world. So start creating it today so that tomorrow when you wake up, it's just that little bit better.
Exactly. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So let's do that.
Awesome, Sabina. Thanks so much for your time and energy. We're going to leave links to all of the great African Bitcoin organizations and missions that are talked about in this episode. We're going to link them up so you can get in touch. You can contact them, contribute. Let's get sports equipment, soccer balls, clean food and clean water, school supplies. Let's start pushing that over from other parts of the world to Africa, and let's see if we can unlock some human flourishing.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. And before we leave, please download Tando on both Play Store and App Store. If you're watching this, it's Tando Ltd. And just experience the magic for yourself. You can send money to anyone in Kenya if you're not already in Kenya. So, yeah.
KYC free. There you go. Download Tando.
Yay, that's the logo.
Oh, I got to get me one of those. That's a nice shirt.
Oh, it's on our Gazer. We have this as a gift, a reward, I mean.
Ah, perfect. Okay, well, we'll link the Geyser Fund in the show notes as well. So if you're looking to get some Tando swag and support great missions in Africa and Kenya, you can do that.
Yay.
Thanks again, Sabina.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for not making it feel like an interview.
Oh, my pleasure. This is the way that we want to do things here, is just share stories and share all the great things happening in the world. So I'm glad that it felt that way, and I'm looking forward to having you on for round 2.
Me too. When we've expanded Tando into other countries, and we can talk about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Check out the show notes for links to all the things talked about in this show and how you can connect with Sabina on X and Noster and all sorts of other places and get involved yourself. Thank you and
Thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
Bye.